Well, guys, I decided to invite Hunter back for my Glass review. And we actually found an abandoned warehouse to review it in as well. So, if you haven't seen Split, stop watching the video now. If you haven't seen Unbreakable, stop watching the video now. Because there will be spoilers for those two movies. We are going to keep part of the video spoiler-free. I'll warn you when we're going to talk about spoilers, though, so you can skip ahead if you haven't seen the movie yet. But to start off, we're going to talk about what we both liked about the movie. So, what do you like, man? What were your overall, first impressions and that kind of stuff, too?
First impressions, I thought the story was good overall. There's some, maybe holes and stuff. I really like the coloring of it. If you notice in the different rooms, there's different coloring.
So, yeah, no, I agree. I think the color scheme and, the set design and art direction of the movie was one of the most intriguing things to me.
Oh, for sure.
Because no other M. Night movie that I've seen, at least, and I've seen most of his movies, was like that. I mean, it almost felt like a Wes Anderson color palette in a way. They were very pastel type colors. I had never seen him use those.
It's something different than he usually does, which is nice, refreshing or something.
Yeah, it was really cool that he still had some little tricks up his belt,
So it's not the same old movie every single time.
Yeah, and we looked it up, and Bruce Willis's character, the Overseer, he generally had green in his scenes, which is meant to be sort of like protection, was that right? Because he's the protector of life.
Mm-hmm.
The Beast had yellow in a lot of his scenes, and he even wore yellow pants, because I guess that's associated with Buddhist monks, and he sees himself as an evangelist who wants to help the broken. And Mr. Glass had purple in a lot of his scenes. He wore purple, and that's because he saw himself as a majestic person who's very important.
And purple is meant to show royalty back in the day. So.
Yep. So that was interesting.
It was really interesting. Something that you don't really notice necessarily, but once you see it happen a lot, then you're like, oh yeah, that kind of matches up.
Right.
So it was really
I wonder
cool.
what the pink meant, because there were a lot of scenes with pink.
Yeah, the pink and the whole room when they were all three together. The whole room was pink.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Anyway, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was just how interesting it was to just look at that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked the opening of this movie. Probably the first 30-ish minutes was my favorite part, was them setting up where David Dunn has been since Unbreakable, showing what the Beast has been doing since Split.
Which is something we talked about. We were wondering how they're going to tie both the movies together, explain how, because we know from the trailers that they, get captured. How's that happen? So it was really cool. It was a good opening and explained it very well.
Yeah, it had such a great setup. Oh, also, I really did like how they used the original son from Unbreakable.
Yeah,
I don't remember the actor's
really
name.
No.
But that was cool. I liked how they didn't just recast him. Speaking of acting, the acting in this movie is great.
Oh, yeah, for
From
sure.
Samuel L. Jackson, he did such a good job. But I think James McAvoy...
That was a really good experience.
Yeah.
To be able to, switch from each, character, just then have a conversations between each of them, that was
And
amazing.
to have the audience know what character he was portraying right then. Because whenever he was Miss Patricia, I knew he was Miss Patricia, just based on very subtle facial expressions that he would give off or whatever.
And same with Dennis, you knew okay, that's Dennis, he was all proper and everything. And then Hedwig, you knew
right,
when
obviously
Hedwig,
yeah.
So yeah, but you're right, it was really cool. And another thing I really liked is in the Split movie, it only showed 9 of the 24 personalities. So this one, it was able to show a lot more. It didn't show all of them. They've actually had to cut I think 3 or 4 of them to make it a little bit of a shorter movie. But that was really cool just to see more of the character, to expand on the Beast and.
Right, yeah, that was cool
Kevin
how we got to see more personalities. Yeah. So one other thing I really liked about this movie, probably the best thing about the movie, is just the characters. Especially Mr. Glass. I don't know why. Obviously James McAvoy, his character was great too.
Yeah.
And it's just enigmatic almost to just watch him. But I don't know, something just really, Samuel L. Jackson just did such a good job
Yeah.
with his character. You didn't really know what he was gonna do next or
Mhm.
say next. He had such great lines and delivery.
I think he did good, but I don't know. I just really love James McAvoy.
But yeah, I did too.
He did a
but
great job.
Yeah,
And even Samuel L. Jackson said it, like, after, they filmed the movie and everything, he's, like, just blown away about how he can be sitting next to someone who's having a conversation with 4 other people.
Yeah.
And, it's, like, I don't know. He said it was just, like, amazing just to be there and, like, witness that. And, like, we get to witness it in the movie, obviously, and it's awesome. Like, that's not an easy task to do by any means.
right. So yeah, we got to see these characters interact, which I think was the most entertaining part of the movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But there just wasn't enough of it. Like, what we got was great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything that I really liked that stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that everything for you?
Yeah, so.
Okay. So, yeah. So going back to how I said I really liked the first 30 minutes of the movie because it set it up so well. After that, the movie really slows down a lot. It's which it's not necessarily a bad thing that it slows down, but the pacing was just so off. It felt like it took forever for the characters to just actually go do something. The psychiatrist was basically trying to make the 3 superhumans try to convince them that they weren't actually superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
And
That part
She-
kind of dragged
she did
on
that,
for a while.
and then she tried it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it just felt like so long. And I didn't really... I thought maybe, like, okay, maybe there's a reason for this. But there really isn't. They could have cut so much of that out. Like, I would say at least 20 minutes of that out.
Yeah.
The ending of the movie, which we will talk about in just a bit,
Mhm.
but for now I'm not going to spoil anything. It was kind of a letdown to me. It was
Yeah.
very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I got what they were going for.
But
It was still
yeah.
kind of anticlimactic.
it kind of tied it all together at the end, but what they were building up to, like, then when it didn't happen, you're like, oh, I mean, then what was the point of all this that was happening?
Yeah, that's okay. We'll talk about that in just a bit. So yeah, I thought the writing was kind of poor as far as that goes. The setup also for David Dunn, his character, it didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like they set him up pretty well in the beginning, and
Yeah.
then he like wasn't even in really the rest of the movie.
Yeah, more focused on the other 2 characters, which is, I don't know. I guess that's, when you think about it, it's kind of new, because in most, superhero movies, they focus on the good guy and not necessarily the bad guys.
Yeah,
So in this movie, they focus more on the bad guys instead of the good guys.
yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
I mean,
but,
they still need to balance it out.
yeah.
They can't just set up his character, which isn't it's a vital character to the movie,
Of course.
and then not really do anything with it,
Mhm.
which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So, anyway, guys, we are going to get into some spoilers now about some of the things we didn't like about the movie. Just skip to this time and to see what we would rate the movie if you don't want to hear spoilers.
Alright, without further ado, some things I didn't like about the movie that, this was some spoilers. I didn't like at the end of the battle, when everything was happening, I didn't like how David Dunn had died.
Yeah,
It just seemed super, I don't know, unsatisfactory, I guess is what I could say.
Yeah. It didn't really make any sense how he died so easily. Like, he was beating up the beast, and he was pretty confident that he could.
Mhm.
And then he was just being held down by, like, a normal guy in
Yeah.
a puddle of water.
Because, he was underwater, so then when he punched it, like, he probably, had a little water in his system or whatever, so he was a little daisy, but, he was on the ground for a while. You think he'd get over it,
Yeah.
and not fight back at all while he's getting drowned? I don't know.
Yeah,
That part, I just didn't like how they handled
that was almost like a cop-out death to me.
Yeah, it could have definitely been a lot better. But, I guess there's something we can do about it, obviously.
I kind of felt like the beast also died pretty easily.
Mhm.
Like, it was almost sort of like a cop-out death for him too. Mr. Glass, I could kind of see his coming a little bit.
Yeah, because there's nothing you can really
Yeah.
do about that.
Mm-hmm. And then with the whole twist that they had, I really didn't see that twist coming,
I did not know.
to be fair, but it was sort of underwhelming.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, oh, so that's what's been going on. When I think what they were trying to go for was some mind-blowing twist like, whoa, I can't
Yeah.
believe this has been happening all along. But it didn't have that effect at
No.
all on me.
Yeah, they definitely wanted that tiny twist, and I also think they're trying to set up maybe future movies. Say
Maybe.
this movie does do good, they have some avenues to go, a lot of openness to it if they wanted, because nowadays it's all about, having this big world of different things you can do.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason they did it, but again, I don't know, I didn't like it at
Yeah.
all. It just seemed kind of stupid in my opinion, but
Right. What twist I did like though was how Mr. Glass kind of pulled one over on the psychiatrist.
yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How he actually sort of like ended up beating her in the end.
That was the only part I liked about the end. But,
I agree.
Yeah,
The mastermind
yeah.
pulled it off.
I did kind of see that coming. I kind of turned to my friend and kind of predicted that before it kind of happened, because they did like show him going to that computer, so I knew something had to be going on.
Yeah,
I
didn't really know what, but
Mhm.
I assumed he had something else in
Yeah.
mind that the audience wasn't let in on at that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
So, Hunter, what would you end up giving this movie?
So, again, like you said, the beginning it was really good. It was good build up. Middle was really slow. The ending was kind of underwhelming. So, the twist,
Meh.
yeah, it was meh. I definitely recommend seeing it for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth it to watch it, and especially if you've seen Unbreakable and Split. It's definitely worth watching, but it's just not one of those great movies by any means. So I would put it at like 6.5.
Okay. Gotcha. To me, it definitely felt like a sequel to Unbreakable and Split, but one that was just so unneeded.
Mm.
It just kind of felt like a tacked on ending to those two movies.
Yeah.
One that like we could have done without.
Mm.
It just felt kind of lazy to me. Like it is enjoyable. Like it's kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not the worst movie ever, but it's just so unnecessary to me. And like you said, it was very disappointing, the ending, especially with how good the beginning was.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna give Glass a 5.5 out of 10.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, would recommend watching too. Though.
For sure, but it's not as good as Unbreakable or not as good as Split. Both those movies.
I mean, you're probably gonna be let down.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for checking out the review, guys. Let me know what you guys think of Glass in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next review.